late 2025, the National Association of Resident Doctors entered into prolonged negotiations with the federal government over grievances affecting its members nationwide. The 19 demands of doctors include critical welfare, remuneration, professional practice, and the disengagement of 5 resident doctors from the Federal Teaching Hospital Lokoja in Kogi State, a focal point of contention by the association. At this press conference in Abuja, the president of the association reiterates the status of the agreement, particularly the decision by the Federal Ministry of Health to redeploy the 5 doctors to another federal teaching hospital as a breach of trust and contrary to the agreement signed.
For some reason, you hear statements like, we can't solve one problem and create another problem. I mean, if you don't want to work with someone who is a federal government employee, I think that is not the employee's problem. It is not the federal government's problem. It is your problem. So why use that as a yardstick? And see, even this morning, you see clearly Federal Ministry of Health saying to ensure that there is peace in the center, which means they are robbing the ego of some individuals in that hospital. That is just the reality, and this is unacceptable. And if time permits and federal government doesn't want to do the needful, we will call the names of those individuals that are behind this delay. If I show you my phone, I have seen appeals even this morning. Don't mention this consultant's name. Don't mention that consultant's name. We will mention it. But right now, we are still allowing for room for conversations to happen so that the right thing be done. And nobody will come to you in an official meeting to say, hey, it's because this doctor or that doctor said they cannot work with them. They don't do that. They only hide under the banner of to forestall peace in the center. What peace are we talking about when someone has been deprived of his salary? And again, I am not a member of that committee. I am not a member of House of Reps. How they arrived independently at that conclusion to reinstate them back to Lokoja is beyond what a NARD president or a NARD member can influence.
The association is also insisting on resuming the previously suspended indefinite strike on January 12.
Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors shall resume the previously suspended total, comprehensive and indefinite strike action with effect from 12 a.m. on Monday, 12 January 2026. Accordingly, all members of the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors in all 91 tertiary health institutions nationwide are hereby directed to withdraw their services completely and indefinitely.
Without concrete and transparent action by the federal government to fulfill its commitments, the association warns that there are consequences for healthcare delivery across Nigeria. From Abuja, Victoria Longjohn, Channels Television News.
Oh yes, as you may see, there are concerns growing over the planned strike by the National Association of Resident Doctors. The federal government says efforts are ongoing to avert a disruption of health services. Well, joining us now is the Minister of State for Health, Dr. Isiaq Adekunle Salako, a medical doctor. He's going to give us an update on government's response and the way forward. Good morning. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you very much, Kimberly. Thank you. Let me wish you and all Nigerians a happy 2026.
Yeah, we hope that it turns out that way as well. Well, actions like this have made us truncate that happiness along the way, but you've seen and heard what the resident doctors are asking. What is the current situation now?
Well, first, thank you very much once again for having me. Let me start by saying that there are 2 general principles that we have tried as a government, the government in power, to introduce into our conversations when it comes to issues around welfare and industrial harmony within the health sector. One of them is the principle of collective bargaining and building consensus before we reach agreements. Because over the years, we have seen that when agreements are not built on consensus and collective bargaining, when you go and meet doctors, for example, alone, and you reach an agreement with them without thinking of the effect on nurses or the effect on JOHESU, what you have is a recurrent issue of strikes, negotiations, because when you reach an agreement, for example, with nurses, because the health sector is a team thing, what you do to nurses in one way or the other affects doctors, affects JOHESU members. So there's a need for us to ensure that every time we are going to reach an agreement, there's a consensus that is built around that agreement. And that is what happened last year. When a circular was introduced, July last year, to increase the professional allowances of health workers, the doctors complained and threatened to go on strike. And then we withdrew the circular. We now started a new process where everybody was now brought on the table. And at the end of the day, the circular we eventually came out with in November became acceptable to all of everybody. The doctors celebrated it, that this is very good. And we felt that that is the way to go going forward. The other parting principle that we have also tried to introduce, we have also found out that in the past, governments always reach agreement under threat of strikes. And so those agreements are usually hurriedly done to just bring them back to work, And those strikes, those agreements often are not enduring. You just find out that you do it, in another 6 months, you are back at the negotiation table again because it was done under threat of strike. I must say that the Nigerian Medical Association, which is the umbrella body of all doctors in Nigeria, understand this principle and they are cooperating with us. The National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives understand these principles and they are cooperating with us. Unfortunately, some of the other parts of the health sector don't seem to understand. Some like to take a militant approach. And we feel that that militant approach, we have done it over and over again in the past, and has not really helped.
Why do you think that that's the case, the militant approach?
Well, I guess that maybe the experience of the past, that they have seen that it is only when they adopt militancy that they get results. For example, in this present case, the NARD went on strike in November, and they had a 19-point demand, and we started meeting. Today, the demand has been reduced to 9. That means some movement definitely has taken place, from 19 to 9. Now, even if we look at those 9 that are still outstanding, all of them, without any exception, have been addressed, and they have been explained to them. So if we take all those demands one by one, I can explain to you how we're approaching it.
Okay, is it that those other demands have been met, or because he told us yesterday, they had to collapse their demands into 9, so it doesn't look as if they're asking for too much?
No, that's not correct. For example, they asked for 25% payment of arrears, which has been outstanding for some time. That's has been paid.
Conmas arrears?
Arrears, it's been paid. They didn't collapse that to anything. They were asking for accoutrement. Allowance is being paid. They were asking for release of professional allowance increment, which will have been released. So if they say that they have collapsed, so it's not correct. Some of those demands are actually, some we have been able to argue that, look, this is not, for example, they say that they want uniform application of commerce across the federation. And we told them, look, Nigeria is a federation. What the federal government pays to their workers, we cannot enforce the state to pay it.
Yeah, that was not the impression we got, though. But the impression we got was that at federal institutions, this issue of CONMES 2 and CONMES 3, that federal institutions are hiring workers. The head of service has already sent a memo now, declaring that doctors be hired on CONMES 3, that it would seem that hospitals or health institutions are yet to receive that memo and are still hiring workers or doctors, medical officers on CONMES 2. And they fear that with IPs going round now to start registering, they would register those people on CONMES 2, and then it will now take forever to be able to correct it since IPs has already done the registration. So they're asking, what does it really take for the Federal Ministry of Health to be able to send a memo to all institutions?
The information you're giving is not totally correct.
It's partially correct.
It's not,
so
yes.
What part is correct?
Let me tell you, at least the recent development. When it was part of their strike issues in November,
Indeed.
And the ministry wrote to the head of service for an advice over it, and the head of service wrote to us and copied the National Salaries, Income and Wages Commission, which is actually the statutory body under the presidency, saddled with the duty of fixing salaries. Mm-hmm. The National Income and Salaries Wages Commission has since replied. I have the letter in my car. I can get somebody, maybe during break, to go and bring it for us to see it. To tell us that they think that skipping should not be for entry points. Because you see, the whole essence of this thing is about what they call skipping. which started in 2013, Duhesu got industrial court ruling that when they want to do promotion from level 10, they should not go to level 11. They should skip level 11 and go to level 12. Now, doctors now went to government and argued that level 10 is an equivalent of Commerce 2. Therefore, they should also skip Commerce 2, which is the entry level, to Commerce 3. Now, the National Salaries and Wages Commission has come to us with a letter. I have the letter. I'll bring it as soon as we have a break. That skipping, you cannot skip when you have not entered. That entry level for doctors is level. So, but we still say no. Despite that, because it is the budget office that budgets for salaries. So we have also sent that memo of the head of service to the budget office. Because when we're doing employment meetings, the budget office will be there. It is budget office that will say, look, this particular personnel should be at this level, not at this level. So we have also sent that for the advice of the budget office on it. But then, in spite of that, we said that, okay, since the advisory that is coming from the head of service for now is that it should be Commerce 3.
Yeah.
Let us continue with Commerce 3 until something contrary. By the way, the ruling by the industrial court is being appealed, is at appeal court, because the Federal Minister of Health at that time and the Salaries and Wages Commission felt that they should not be entry point, they should not be skipping at all.
Yeah,
so they went to an appeal.
In spite of the feeling of this is, you have just said that this is currently the directive, or when I say the memo of the head of service. You have agreed that, you know, that should be followed. However, the letters being held by, the letters of employment being held by their colleagues who have just been recently employed does not state that they have been employed on Commerce 3.
No, the truth of the matter is that they want us to transmit that letter to the head of hospitals.
Yes.
It is not the head of hospitals that will fix it for them. It is the budget office that will say entry level for doctors is Commerce 3.
Budget office at the federal level?
At the federal level. For federal employees.
Yeah, so what exactly is the way forward now? Because if you are saying that the head of service has already said this and you intend to abide by it, pending when you get another resolution or maybe an appeal that states to the contrary, it means that people who are currently employed should be employed on Commerce 3. If people are already being employed, doctors are being employed, and they are employed on Commerce 2, it even goes against what it is that even you believe should be the stand for now. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. But until, you see, the thing is, I'm saying is this. The head of hospitals will not employ people based on an advice that is not emanating from the budget office. So we need that advice from the budget office in terms, like I said, the Salaries and Wages Commission has said that no, entry point for doctors should be Commerce 2. That is written down, black and white. I'll let you have that letter, like I said. So you will see that if we do not properly navigate this, in terms of ensuring that all parties in the government are on the same page on this, we will just having confusion across board.
But in the scheme of things, in the hierarchy of things, whose word should be the last one on this particular issue?
I believe it's the budget office, because we have a waiver meeting, for example, where we debate, we discuss issues of employment, and it is when it comes to what grade level should an HLD holder, for example, be placed in. It is the budget office that will tell us that they should be on this level, they should be on this level, they should be on this level. That is the experience I've had, because I've sat in the waiver meeting for a long time. So, but for us, who believe very strongly that these are issues that by allowing space for getting everybody on board to really take a decision over it, we can move forward. The ministry is not averse to entry level of Commerce 3 for doctors. There's no reason to, why should we be averse to it? But it is not the decision of the ministry to make.
Okay. Now, about the budget, because yesterday he also told us that from their own understanding, a lot of these issues have not been captured in the 2026 budget. And they thought that was strange to them. And
that's
why
also
they're
correct.
concerned.
That's also not correct. I don't know where they're getting their information. The increment in professional allowances for health workers, but not just for doctors, is going to cost government about 90 billion on an annual basis to implement. Before we can release that, there's an approval from the SDF office. And that approval is transmitted to the budget of it. And I spoke to the director of budget yesterday, who assured me that that has been captured in the 2026 budget, including other envisaged wage award that may happen.
So how come they are not aware of this?
You see, the thing is that these are routine work. Once a wage award is given, the circular is circulated to the agency concerned, the parent agency, the agent that will budget for it, which is the budget office. It's a routine thing. I don't know. Maybe they got their information from the wrong thing.
Now,
so
the documents that we've been able to get, so yes. Tell what areas do you want to highlight in the document that they seem not to be aware of?
This is NSIWC comments. The determination of entry point and the area profession in the public service, including medical and data, is not within the mandate of it, but that of the Office of Public Service and the Federation in consultation.
Sorry, it's not within the mandate of who? Sorry.
Of the National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission. But that of the Office of the Head of Service of the Federation in consultation with the National Council on Establishment. Even if skipping is considered and applied as being alluded here, although the matter is still at the Court of Appeal, it cannot be applied to entry points. That's the comment of the National Service, as proposed above, because it runs counter to the approved scheme of service issued by the Office of Head of Service of the Federation, unless it has to be amended and reintroduce the payment of special. Okay, no, that's another one. That's now talking about specialist allowance. So these are the things that we need time as government to resolve, so that we are not doing something that it's just on paper, and then in 3 months' time, they will come back and say, what you promised us, you could not deliver on.
This is a response to the head of service.
Head of service.
Was it a request that she made?
Yes. We wrote to the head of service.
Yes.
About these entry points. And the head of service now sought the advice of the Salaries and Wages Commission over it. So this was addressed to the head of service, copied to us as ministry, to be in the know of that information.
Okay. So, well, this is one issue, and while we're waiting for the resolution, while we look forward to the favorable resolution, because what they have heard is that the head of service wrote to the National Salaries, Income and Wages Commission saying that they should be employed on COMMES 3.
So that is the letter now.
But they know that so far so good, their colleagues who are currently being employed are employed on COMMES 2, not COMMES 3, as has been said. Now, while the controversy on that is being resolved, they have a number of other issues. Give, for instance, the firing of the doctors in the Federal Medical Center in Kogi State, and they said that 5 of their colleagues were fired. There was a resolution. I mean, I think committees sat on that particular issue, and it was found that, okay, well, maybe they were fired in error and they should be reabsorbed. But then they were told that the hospital services now say, okay, well, if that is the situation, they should seek to reapply in other places other than the place where they were fired from.
That is also not completely correct. Those 5 doctors actually fall into 3 categories. They have lumped all of them together, which is not the correct solution of things. There is a category of 2 of them who face the senior staff disciplinary committee of the ministry. And the disciplinary committee recommended that their appointment be terminated. And this was passed through the process and was approved. Ordinarily, it should not come to me or to the coordinating minister as political appointments, as political appointees. Routinely, issues of discipline within the civil service goes on every day, and it doesn't come to political office holders. But because they have now made it an industrial issue, that's why it has come to our table. You know, so 2 of them were recommended to be terminated.
Is it on misconduct, on ethical issues?
Yes, they said they faced a committee, a disciplinary committee, and they were accused of misconduct.
Was this before they went on the strike?
Before they went on strike. This was in 2024. Okay? Now, another two also faced this disciplinary committee. That disciplinary committee recommended that they be reprimanded, not terminated. There is one, the group 3, one doctor, who had not faced the disciplinary committee because she was ill when the disciplinary committee was sitting. So there is no decision on her. As I speak, she is still working in Lokoja. Okay? So what we have now decided at the ministry, when they brought it as an industrial issue, and we set up a 3-man committee to look at it, and the 3-man committee brought forward their report. We reviewed that report. First, the doctor that has not faced the disciplinary committee, the committee recommended that she be reprimanded. We said no. Reprimand is a punishment. If she has not faced the disciplinary committee, there's no way you should punish her. Let her go and face the disciplinary committee. The disciplinary committee may as well say that she has no case to answer. So that's category 1. Category 2, those that have been recommended to be reprimanded, we say, okay, go ahead, reprimand them, let them continue working in Lokoja. It is the 2 categories that their appointments were terminated, that we are now saying they should be reinstated. We have agreed that they should be reinstated. But the question now is, should they be reinstated in Lokoja or elsewhere else? Okay. We said elsewhere else. They say it should be Lokoja.
There seems to be some miscommunication, because yesterday he told us that 5 of them were given sack letters and 5 were sacked.
That's not correct. I have the report of the committee also in my car. I can get somebody to get it so that I also see the report of that committee and the recommendations of that committee.
And part of what he also said was the bone of contention was as a result of union activities. That they being union members, does it mean because if they participate in union or they go on strike, then they come in there and then they face this kind of scenario? So that's part of the concerns he raised as well yesterday.
Unfortunately, I don't have the report of the disciplinary committee that they faced here. I have it in my office, but I know that they were accused of misconduct. But the truth...
Do you know what kind of what the misconduct was about?
I'm sorry, I cannot. But the real thing is that the ministry has reviewed that case and has actually agreed that they should be reinstated. So that's a movement. What is now in contention with ARD is whether she should be reinstated in Lokoja or elsewhere else. So nobody can say that there has not been anything done about it.
Maybe I should have asked him to send us 5 copies of those letters. He said they have the 5 copies of the sacked letters given to those doctors. So we hope they pass the right information to you.
Well, I have the report of that committee. I'm sure they can get it for me in the car. I'll also let you see.
Okay, well, I'd like to see that. You started about the principle of collective bargaining, and that you don't want to take a decision then it affects other arm of the health sector so that there will be more crisis. So in that regard, if the NMA was aware and some other bodies were aware, who was responsible to communicate where you all are in the scheme of things to the NARD so that they equally will be on the same page with everybody else?
Now, you know that the NARD is an affiliate of the NMA. And in the principles of collective bargaining, we do not sit down with affiliates. Because if you have to sit down with the affiliates, the room will be so full. All the associations, for example, if you look at JOHESU, the associations that constitute JOHESU, I don't know how many, but there are many. You know, if you look at NMA, they have about 4 or 5 affiliates. If you look at nurses, so what we discuss with the parent bodies, the NMA, JOHESU, and the Nigerian Association of Nurses and Midwives. Those are the 3 parent bodies for the unions within the health sector. So our collective bargaining discussion is with those 3 unions, which started in, I think we started August or so, sometimes last year. Now, when the collective bargaining was on, we ran into 2 very important issues that need to be resolved. One, JOHESU had an agreement 2009 with the federal government that the CONHES salary scale, which is enjoyed by other health workers, should be at parity with the CONMES salary scale, which is enjoyed by medical doctors. Medical doctors, after a while, had another agreement with the federal government that the CONMES salary scale, there will be relativity between the CONMES salary scale and core health salary scale. So at the collective bargaining discussion, USU was insisting on parity. Medical doctors were insisting on relativity. We know that those two are mutually exclusive. We have to resolve it.
Okay.
And we now decided that the way to resolve it is to have a job evaluation done, which is a mandate of the National Salaries and Wages Income Commission. So we approached the National Salaries and Wages Commission. Please, can you do a job evaluation of all the cadres in the health sector? And they said it will take us about 6 months to do it and come back. So we now say, okay, in the interim, while we're waiting for the job evaluation to be done, let us increase the allowances, professional allowances of all health workers. And that's what was released in November. And then give us time on the current status quo until the job evaluation comes.
So, would they have been out of place? Because NARD is the one that embarked on this strike while you're talking about collective bargaining in the first instance. Would it be out of place to say, okay, well, for the purposes of this, NARD, NMA, notwithstanding that we have NMA, you also be there?
No,
so
they are there. They are there as an affiliate of NMA.
I thought you said it's just NMA.
No, they come with an affiliate. When the NMA is coming there with their own representatives, they pick representatives from the affiliate body. But they're not coming as affiliate. They're coming under the banner of NMA.
Okay.
The NRD is sitting at CBA as an affiliate.
Okay, part of what he also told us, if I got my notes correct, he said the CBA was to end in August. Was supposed to end 3 weeks back in August, but you suspended it. And part of the reason was that you said relativity and parity, non-release of corrected professional allowances, is that these two have, the issues have been resolved. But now you're saying that they must do a job evaluation that must last 6 months before CBA can start. They say, how can you do job evaluation for 6 months, which is part of why they agreed?
First, the Ministry of Health is not overseeing the CBA. It's a responsibility of the Ministry of Labour. The Labour Minister chaired the CBA. So we are there as like a party. So they'll say, okay, there's this issue that your employees have with you. What do you have to say about it? So the rulings from that place comes from the Labour Ministry, not from us. So it is the Labour Ministry that suspended the CBA on the basis of those two things that I've said.
So now, the Ministry of Health has
no, it's a mutual thing, of course. But the thing is that when there's an obstacle, you have to then sit back and see how to remove those obstacles. One key obstacle is this principle of parity and relativity. There's another one. Nurses, JOHESU, some affiliate of JOHESU, got an award from the federal government to be appointed as consultants before this government came in. A scheme of service was developed for that. At the CBA, the doctors were opposed to any other cadre being appointed as consultants. Those who have been given consultant award, of course, also stood their ground that they have gotten that award, it must continue. Those are issues that we need to resolve. And we said, look, when it comes to issue of designation, what matters is not the designation, it's the work that you do. And we said, okay, what we should then do is let us develop a job description, detailed job description. If you are a consultant nurse, for example, what is your job description that will not conflict with a consultant physician? And we even invited all the unions. Please, you can also make submissions for us to develop this so that we can make progress. So you will see that each of these issues are booby traps if they're not well resolved. If we agree with the doctors that there should be no consultant cadre, of course, those who have gotten consultant cadre, what would they do? They will be at arms with us. If we agree with those who have got consultant cadres and then doctors are opposed, and we just go ahead, the doctors will be at arms with us.
Yeah,
so
but the question is,
have a mutual resolution to go forward.
Well, a lot of things to look at. I've taken a look at this data over and over again, and I'm wondering what exactly the National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission is saying here, because they have said that what the head of service has requested is not within their mandate, but that of the head of civil service who actually made the request of them. So what exactly is the They say it is the job of the head of service in consultation with the National Council on Establishment. And they say even if skipping is considered and applied here as being alluded, the matter is still at the Court of Appeal. It cannot be applied to entry points as proposed because it runs counter to the approved scheme of service issued by the head of service of the Federation unless it has to be amended. So is it that they're advising the head of service amend your scheme of service so that
to be able to implement
for us to be able to implement it. This is at the same time accepting that this is not within their mandate. Aren't they just being busybodies in this matter?
No, I don't think so. Because if the head of service felt she could do it without reverting to them, she would not have written to them.
Okay. We'll have to go at the time.
This is the report of the committee.
Okay, but I also say we covered that report, and I had to check with our correspondents in Kogi, and he says part of what the report filed in was that they were sacked because they protested in the premises against the management of the hospital, and that's why they were sacked. And the NMA is saying that they have the letters. NARD, I beg your pardon, saying that they have those letters. I hope they will be able to send them to us. In addition to that, they say it is the Ministry of Health that insisted on having the job evaluation, and they suspect that it was to delay the CBA indefinitely.
No, let me tell you, you are an elite member of the Nigerian society. If you are in this kind of situation, assuming you are in our position, one of the employees is claiming parity, another is claiming relativity. What are you going to do? I put the question to you.
Yeah, but the question is...
So several grounds to cover. The NMA, I beg your pardon, I keep saying NMA, maybe Dr. put it NARD keep insisting on some of the things that, because they're listening to you as well, and that's what they think is, some of this are not actually the way it actually is. So both of you saying no, it's not as clear as you put it, but we'll have to find a way.
June 12th.
I think that's really the most important element.
That's what the issue is, because at the moment, it looks as if they're going to go on strike on January 12th.
And that's what we're trying to avoid.
So because both of you haven't met yourselves, insulted.
For us, and I would also like to use the opportunity to appeal to Nigerians. Because at the end of the day...
Nigerians or the NARD?
Including Nigerians, whether as minister, or as NARD, or as NMA, the whole essence is to serve the Nigerian people. Okay? Let us look at these issues dispassionately.
Okay.
First, it is not correct that we have abandoned all the agreements and nothing is being done about it. I think we have been able to establish that here today. We are making movements. Yesterday, they still met with the Minister of Labour, with the ministry in attendance, and discussions are ongoing in each of these cases. Doctors that have been terminated, we have agreed that they should be reinstated. So if the issue is about whether it should be in Lokoja or not Lokoja, it's a matter of discussion.
All right. It's an ongoing concern, as a matter of fact, because we need to hear from...
It is not an issue for strike.
We need to see how both will actually address this matter and ensure that the NARD don't embark on strike January 12th, because it's already a challenging situation for Nigerians who go to medical facilities or hospitals. So we can't afford to make it any worse. We'll find time and see how we can revisit this matter to avert what the date of that strike, hopefully. We have to thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Isiaq Salako is the Minister of State for Health.